Hey, howdy ho, Lions fans. Welcome to the Detroit Lions podcast, episode 270. This is the official Detroit Lions podcast for Reddit. I am your dashing host, Chris, and with me is my good friend and co-host, The Riz, Jeff Risden. How you doing, brother?
It is great to be with you on a momentous occasion. What do you say, 275?
275th
270.
year anniversary. Can you believe it? 5
years of this. That's impressive, man. I'm happy to have been along for most of the ride.
The oldest. We're the oldest. The longest running podcast for the Detroit Lions.
Makes sense as we're probably the oldest hosts. So there you go.
And the best looking, I'll have you know.
Well, of course.
My fellow stud, we have a lot coming in today's show. First off, it's our 5th birthday. We'll talk a little bit about that. A little self-indulgence and a special little treat at the end for the podcast listeners. Not going to be in the audio show. Sorry. Or on the video version, sorry. Fantasy football is coming. We'll talk about that a little bit. Lions have new ownership. I don't know if you heard. They have new owner. We'll talk about that as well. We may take you a little bit around the division. We got a lot of other stuff to talk about. But we got that and a whole lot more. Great show lined up. Riz, you ready to go, my man?
Oh, let's do it.
Let's kick this off and break it down.
All right. For a couple of quick announcements first, check us out and help us out on the Patreon. Special thanks to Dylan from... That's right. Of course, our very first owner, Mathis, and Brian B. from I Prevail, iprevailband.com. We get that right, and we got Jeff's name right. He was Case for a minute there. Thanks for the info in the chat. We changed it over there.
I appreciate that. Case probably does too.
I don't know if he really even recognizes. Case comes up out of his hole every now and again.
We love Case.
Make sure to join all the folks on the Patreon crew. That's patreon.com/Detroit Lions podcast. You get in there as little as $1 a month, gets you access to our Slack chat, the best insider chat. Riz, Case, myself, all kinds of great Lion stuff going on right there. And you get it, like I said, as little as $1 a month. A little more if you feel like it, if you can. If you would like to show enough to share with us, we appreciate it. Helps keep us going, doing what we do, and get these fancy, sparkly new graphics and high production value on this show. My gosh, it's beautiful. Darmasis in the chat says this is the Wood anniversary, and he is correct.
Swing, baby.
Give us a like on Facebook, facebook.com/The Detroit Lions Podcast, Instagram, Detroit Lions Podcast, and on the Twitter machine at DET Lions Podcast, DET Lions Podcast. Give us a follow so you can see the Riz.
With no pants.
Subscribe on YouTube, youtube.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. Hit that notification bell if you would. These guys do really good at that. I mean, we are above normal YouTube averages for both hitting the bell and subscriptions for people who listen. So thank you all on the YouTube who do that. It really, really helps us. And you're a really good bunch. YouTube.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. Also, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, iHeart, Pandora, all those places, wherever you go. If you get a chance to give a review over there, please do. Please give us the 5 stars. We really, really appreciate it. If you have a reason you wouldn't give us 5 stars, head over to the subreddit, talk to us about it so we can fix it so you want to give us 5 stars. That's the way to go. All right, lastly, give us a call on Skype at Detroit Lions Podcast. All one word, Detroit Lions Podcast, or you can use the Lions line at 929-33-LIONS. It's 929-335-4667. Leave us a message and get a chance to hear yourself on the show.
Tighten your chin straps, kids. It's time to review this week in Reddit.
All right, it's time to talk about the fun and exciting things going down this week in Reddit. How was that little clip there, Riz? Do you like the little video stuff?
I gotta say, I like the production value, man. That's it's beyond my pay grade, so I'm very impressed.
It was the lockdown skill up that I got involved there. It was nice. Got to get the After Effects on. All right, we got a lot going on. First, we want to talk about fantasy football. Remember, it's our largest fundraiser of the year. We appreciate everyone who joins and plays. It is alive and kicking right now. You can join. Head on over to Detroit. Let me make it easy. Why did I have to talk with all those words? Fantasy.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. That's it. Straight in. Gets
you made it so easy for everybody, Chris.
Thanks.
You're a gentleman and a scholar.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you for noticing. Yeah, it's a great way to get in and get some great fun out of the season, and it is a money league, so you can win 50% of the pot stays with the house. Like I said, it's our big fundraiser for the year, but you can win some big dough. You can risk a lot, risk a little, anywhere from I think it's $15 leagues through $25 or through $50 leagues, and the pots adjust accordingly. Also, there's a big pick'em league where you can go to town with the ultimate roll of the dice, and winner takes the huge pot on that one. So that's a lot of fun. All right, so yeah, fantasy.detroitlionspodcast.com. Get signed up now. We appreciate all of you for helping out the show by doing that. Like always, we try to do stuff where you get something out of it. It's not just straight, begging for money. So we got our Ash back running the league this time. He's going to rock it out for you.
Nice.
We got it locked in. So yeah, join us, fantasy football, fantasy.detroitlionspodcast.com. All right, into the Lions news. This is something that I'm not sure you heard about or not, Riz. The Lions have new ownership.
Shocking, isn't it?
It's all over. It's all over. The Fords are no longer. Yeah, it's the Ham Fords in charge. Yes.
Oh boy.
Sheila Hamp Ford is taking over the reins from Martha.
Sheila Ford Hamp. You got to get the Ford in the right spot.
Ford Hamp.
Yes.
I always want the Ford last because people remember the thing you say last.
Oh,
so
yeah, and Fords tend to wind up in last. So
Ford Hamp.
Yeah.
Ford Hamp. Ford's okay,
Yeah.
now in the middle.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
The first question I have to ask, and I want to get in. Well, let's do this first. Let's talk about Martha's time in the seat, okay? Because Martha is absolutely, by all accounts, anybody who's spoken with her, who's dealt with her in any way, shape, or form, from players, coaches, former coaches, even Dean Blandino, who's spoken with Martha a number of times, and I've talked to him over a couple of beers and had very frank conversations about different things. Everybody says that Martha is absolutely the very, very, very best. And I got to say, I'm going to miss that. And not that Sheila's not great, right?
Right.
But Martha was just such a matriarchal figure. I really, really liked having her there. There was just a good kind of homey feel.
It was, and she had a toughness and a shrewdness to her that I think came across very quickly to everyone who met her and everyone that talked with her. And that's not always true of NFL owners. And I will speak from personal experience on that front. She got it. She was not like she had a lot of years, sort of waiting in the wings as her late husband's, she was involved, but not like running things. But she definitely picked up on where her husband erred, and quite frankly, understood that she knew what she didn't know, and she was savvy enough at that to go find people who could help her figure those things out.
Yep.
And, asking the league for help and hiring Ernie Accorsi to hire Rod Wood and then hire Bob Quinn.
Yeah.
That's not the way that the Lions would have done things in the past. Those have been positive moves. They were the right decisions to make, and she made those, and it couldn't have been easy for her. And she did. Have we been completely enamored with the end results? No, we're not. But she went about things the right way. She tried to build a winner. She made things just from a fan perspective. Look, she took over in 2014. We didn't meet in training camp until a couple of years after that.
Right.
I remember though, training camp we stood there. You stood around almost like a police line around the field. There weren't a lot of people there. There was no vendors. There was nothing for your kids to do.
Right.
They did bring in a face painter once. I remember that. And that was like a big thing.
That was for Bill Ford.
Yes, it absolutely was. The parking sucked. Just going into Ford Field, the internet was awful. The Wi-Fi would get overloaded. The vending was sort of stale, not real, all that inventive.
Still better than the Shrine Bowl, though. I mean, let's the Shrine Bowl dogs.
Oh my God,
they may have shipped the training camp buns down to the game in January, right?
They're making the hot dogs already for next January. Oh. And Martha took pride in making all that better for fans, for the Lions. She has, and they didn't jack up ticket prices like a lot of other franchises have done. In fact, I believe they lowered some in certain parts of the stadium.
Yeah. You see,
those are things that a lot of fans, especially if you don't go to games or events, probably don't appreciate all that much. But if you are somebody who has, bought season tickets, we'll refer to Sandman here, our friend Andy.
Yeah.
he loved Martha. He loved the upgrades that they made. We got to tour the club area that they redid. My goodness, that was phenomenal.
Beautiful.
It was. I've been in Jerry World. Jerry World is the best stadium on the face of the earth, as far as I'm concerned.
Sure.
The Lions Club area that they made up there is, it would fit in Jerry World.
Yeah.
It's really, really nice. And it was nice to see just the dedication to making the Lions a first-class organization. Because then, again, didn't work on the field. They haven't won a playoff game yet, and that's obviously something you have to judge things by as well.
You know, that's something we should talk to Mike Wadowski about. That Sandman's guy, maybe put together a club level kind of quick video of, and just a review from us. I bet we could do that for when training camp's going on, and just show people what's up with that whole experience. Because boy, it's really awesome. It's really awesome.
Yeah, it's first class, man. It really is.
I want to really be clear about something though about Martha, that you're right. I mean, trust me, I love the idea of the comfortable matriarch there. But the reason that she did have so many people's respect was that they couldn't walk on her. Right. She, as you said, she was very shrewd and she was very tough in all the right places. She was not a pushover. She was not, Dad said no, so I'm going to Mom to get what I want kind of a person. Right. She was, she was tough where it counted, where it needed to be. And even physically tough. I mean, there's last training camp, there was the one day that was just blistering hot. If you remember, it was like 2 days before the party, and Martha
was my first day up there. Yeah. It was rough, man.
Martha was there, standing in the sun. I mean, she had her big hat on, right? And I'm sure all her sunscreen, did all the right things, but she stood for the whole practice, watching that practice unfold and watching what happened in the action of the practice. Didn't sit in the card under the overhang, nothing. She stood for the whole thing. Same thing when I saw her at Tampa the year before. She stood all the practice beforehand. She walked up and down, talked to everybody, was there, was fully involved. She is a strong woman. I hope that there's nothing with her health or anything like that that's kind of got in the way here.
And that's where my mind went when I got the communique that Martha was stepping down. I'm like, oh, I hope she's okay. That was my first and foremost thought.
And I don't want to speculate that anything is happening, right? But you're right. No. At that age, it's hard not to think that something might have happened, or she might be she might just be tired, right? It might be, it's been a long time. I'm 93. Is it?
I think she's 94 now.
94 years old. It's time to step down and let someone in the 70s run this show, right?
That's the thing. So Sheila is not a spring chicken by any means. She was born, I believe it was 1951. So she would be almost 70 herself.
70, yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. But so Sheila has been a more visible presence, particularly in the last year and a half.
That was my big question. Didn't she already have a pretty big voice and all this?
She had represented the team at owners' meetings. She had been involved in the Super Bowl planning committee at the behest of Martha to get more involved in the league-wide things. She has sat in on draft meetings. She was at the Combine in Indianapolis this year. I saw her there myself. So she has been we've known for some time that Sheila was going to be the person who took over for Martha. We just didn't know when it was going to happen. And the shocking thing yesterday, and I tweeted out that it was a bombshell, it was all about the timing. It wasn't the fact that it was Sheila taking over. We knew that. We expected that. And pretty much everyone that I've talked to inside and outside the organization has been good with that. They're like, okay, she's been grooming for it.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think it's a smooth transition, right?
Yes. Yeah. You're not going to have a lot of, and Martha's still around, and Sheila will definitely take counsel from her. From what it sounded like yesterday in the Zoom call, Rod Wood has stepped up a little bit in terms of being more hands-on with the day-to-day operations staff.
And he's fully capable, right? I like Rod Wood. He's
great.
If he had white shoes and a white belt, he would be a superstar. But hey, you can only do so much, right?
The upgrade from Tom DeLuan to him is like going from a Yugo to a Mustang.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Absolutely. He's absolutely fabulous. Love what he's done. I love his interactions. Have interacted with him on Twitter. He's for a guy at his age and his position, he's pretty cool. He's a pretty cool guy.
Yeah. and he gets it. Yeah. He gets that, he understands that, the Lions have not had a lot of success, and he's okay, dealing with that. People throw it back at him. That's that you kind of have to have that. And Sheila So one of the things that Sheila talked about in her Zoom was how much she hates to lose, and how much that bothers her and the entire family. And I would just say to that you probably need to take her at her word for that.
What? Not a whole lot of evidence to the point.
Well, I mean, I've not been in the owner's box, either here or there. I haven't seen
the end results column to point to show how much they hate losing, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of organizations that haven't had a lot of success. That
I will tell you the one thing, and we'll get into what this means for Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn, but I'll tell you the one thing that I believe Martha has brought, and I think Sheila will continue to bring, is a break from that it's okay to lose mentality that sat in that locker room for so long. I believe that is gone.
That is gone. Yes.
And it is not allowed near, right?
The players who would be happy and cheerful in a locker room after a loss are gone.
That's right. And I think no matter what else, this if it's an experiment with Quinn and Patricia, that was a significant and so much needed change for at least a decade. It's been prevalent for so darn long with this team. Wayne Fonz talked about it, right? I mean,
he did. Yes, he did. On this very show.
Yeah,
he did.
It was there for a long time, and that being eradicated. Obviously, it took a pro level exterminator to get rid of those rats. So, in the end, that's probably one of the biggest things that's happened, and happened under Martha's watch. So I feel good about that. Yep. Okay, so what else what can Sheila do to make this different? She hates losing. It's time, you get a new leader. It's one of the things you do as a leader is you put your stamp on things. Now, if you're new and you haven't been around and kind of groomed, like even if you have, really, you've got to step forward and make yourself known. In some cases, like depending on the organization, you do a little bit of a listening tour. I don't think I see that from Sheila. This is a kind of role where you step up and you have to put your stamp on it right away.
You got to be Nuke the Lelouch, baby. Announce your presence with authority.
That's right. Now, how is Sheila going to do that? What is she going to do different immediately to improve or change or put her stamp on this team as the premier or primary owner?
And that is a excellent parlor discussion right at the moment, because I don't think anybody really knows. I don't think she has fully figured that out yet.
I would want her to have known that before this announcement, because she knew she was coming. You know what I mean?
I kind of think so. And she was asked about it, and she was somewhat vague, and I think she was probably, like her mother, shrewdly vague. Not that she didn't know. I've dealt with owners who don't know. I cover the Browns too. There's none of that going on in Detroit.
Have you ever just taken one article, changed the names, and submitted it for the other team?
I think one of the things that Sheila could do would be, and she hinted at this, is to be more out in front of the organization. Mm-hmm. Martha led, but she led from, you talked about her being like on the sideline, but she does not interact with fans. She never gave a single press conference with just the media and herself her entire time as the owner of the Lions.
She said hi to us when we did our
Club Lover
tour.
Yes,
remember?
She did.
We were walking and they stopped us so that Martha and the family could get into the golf cart. I remember that. I'll never forget
I do remember that.
She said hi. It was like,
yes, she did.
My heart
but in terms of like she's not someone who's going to go and sit. Martha is not going to go over and sit with the plebes in the bleachers during training camp,
and not during COVID for sure.
And
that's actually, one of the things to get back to why she may have stepped down. One of the things is her activity with the team. She may have felt that it's just not worth the risk at this point at 94, right? That's not the place.
Yeah.
I've got my parents in their 70s locked in their house, right? They're not allowed to leave since March. And if they need anything that they can't get, we get it sent to them in a safe way, because it's what I'll talk about that later. Why I'm having a hard time going there. I want to go visit, but I don't want to be the one to bring it. You know what I mean?
Michigan is still not the easiest place to visit.
Yeah. So you think about how active she is and how involved she is. She believes you need to be that active and involved and there, right? She believes you need to be present. I don't think she's wrong, right? But she believes you need to be present, and she probably doesn't feel she can fulfill that duty and that requirement, but Sheila can at her age. And she probably feels that there's a bit too much risk for her. And I completely respect that.
I agree with that. And the other thing on the specific timing, Sheila was asked about this, and she said that the fact that it is a dead period right now, that there's nothing really going on, it's a good time to do it. So she's not going to get hit with something hard right away.
Right.
Like the biggest thing now is the NFL timeline for this coming year, which is still very much up in the air. As much as the NFL would like to tell you that everything's hunky-dory and on schedule, we just don't know that yet.
UFC's going. Watching it every weekend. I got my sports. I'm good. No, I need football. I'm just joking. I really need football.
Baseball might be coming back for a brief time.
I'm not super
maybe
at this point. Yeah. They've got me as frustrated as they did in the 90s right now. As a fan,
I'm not going back.
Yeah,
I left. I didn't necessarily appreciate the steroid era, but I didn't hate it. And the way that the purists vilified anyone who liked the game because there was home runs being hit, and their sanctimonious assness with that drove me away completely. And I have not watched baseball since, and I have no intention of ever going back to it.
There's two kinds of fans: the kind that like to go to an occasional game, have a hot dog, check it out, watch the baseball, and then there's the statisticians that ruin it for everyone else.
Yeah.
That's it.
And I was that guy for a long time. My wife and I were talking about the other day. We lived in Cleveland when they were good in the 90s. We went to a ton of Indians games. I was all about collecting baseball cards. I can tell you Miguel Delaney's batting average in 1983. He hit 273. Hitting leadoff for the Cleveland Indians. He also led the team in strikeouts. I just remember all that crap. That was what it was all about as a kid.
Yeah.
None of that. No.
There was
doesn't matter anymore.
There was a fun time in the Indians-Tigers kind of rivalry. I got a lot of, I'm originally from Ohio, born down there.
Right.
Got a lot of family. All my family is in Ohio. And there, it was the University of Michigan and the Tigers and the Lions for me, and they were all Ohio State and
yeah. The area where you're from in Ohio is very much that melting pot. I'm from a little bit more closer to Cleveland, and there's still, especially I was born in Sandusky, that area is still more, I wouldn't say more Detroit centric, but there's a lot of Detroit pull there, and Toledo pull especially.
Yeah.
And that's, I tell people all the time, even though I am from Ohio, the high school that I went to had three classrooms my senior year in high school that had Michigan crap all over the walls. Yeah, teachers were all about it.
I tell you, you want to talk about an interesting life. I spent almost every weekend down in Ohio because that's where all my family was, and we'd go visit, right? But like during the week growing up in Detroit area in the city, right, doing things in Detroit and being Detroit and all that, and then the weekend I'd be standing 25 feet in the air fixing the air conditioning on a combine, right, doing all the help. It was crazy. It was crazy. I lived two lives, man. I appreciate it now, right? I got a really broad view, but it was it's crazy. Anyway, so let's Sheila's got some things. She's got to put that stamp on there. She's got to come up with what that is. And I think it might be training camp, to be honest with you. And I don't want to say you got to buck the trend, but what I like, for me, I like innovation, right? Like, again, it's a new anniversary, rethought how we do some of the bumpers and the video piece, how to tie it in and make the production easier on the audio side and create a better product for both sides, for both groups, right? I like innovating. I like doing something new. Every other podcast you see is doing what we're doing 3 months, 6 months, a year later. It's just the way it is because it's just like how I like to do it. Innovate. I like people who do that.
You get bored easy too.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. I want to. I've done this for a long time. I want to see Sheila and the Lions come up with an innovative way to make training camp work for the fans while COVID's going on. And I think if they could focus and deliver that, right, even if it's a limited number of fans, and if, okay, fine, you start out with just season ticket holders and you expand it to some broader group somehow, for a lottery, some I'm a super fan cuz contest, something.
I have an idea for that.
To do it. I would love to see her deliver something like that to start, because it's for the fans. It's for the people who love the Lions, who are really, really dedicated and want to see the product and really, really are desperate to see that, to reward them in some innovative way. That would be amazing for her to step up and figure that out.
I've got an idea for that. COVID survivors. There are over 50,000 of them in the state of Michigan right now, and they are a growing, louder voice all the time that their lives are still being ruined and impacted because they have recovered and they can't go back to work. They can't find ways to pay their bills. They can't do anything to, relieve stress for the fact that they might have been on a ventilator for 6 days.
I tell you what. Okay, so give them, as
let them have access, assuming that
let them have jobs if they want them, right?
Right.
Give them access, right? But think about it. You're already immune.
That's the general consensus. Yes, I think the holdup is that you don't.
Brilliant.
They don't know that yet.
Right.
We'll see.
We know it as much as we
anyway, I think that's something that it's a growing topic.
Yeah.
Of how the people who have recovered are still having their lives negatively impacted after they've already come out the other end.
Yep.
And that is not something that has gone particularly well for our governor here in Michigan. Not to get political at all, but that they are not happy, and they're a growing class. It's growing every day.
Yeah, there's a lot of people
so
disenfranchised
throw those people
in the country right now.
I think that would be a very good move across all socioeconomic and fan lines.
Yeah.
I really do. I think that's something that the Fords could do. Ford Hamp.
Damn the name.
We had an argument for 20 minutes yesterday in the Wire editorial Slack about whether it should be hyphenated or not, because she doesn't hyphenate it.
No, then it's
but when
not.
you have a name like that, it's normally hyphenated.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Fun work stuff for me.
D'Anthony in the chat knows someone who's gotten it twice. So I don't know if it was like a false negative in between.
That's the thing. There's false positives, there's false negatives. It's still incredibly difficult to get tested in certain parts of these states, not just Michigan.
Yeah. And that's what I talk about. I want to get there to Detroit, like for the training camp party, right? I want to do that so bad, but as we get closer and see how things are winding up, two things. Like I say, when I come to town, I stay with my parents, because in the time that I'm not working for the podcast and the party and the training camp and all that stuff, I go visit them and spend time. There would be nothing worse than me bringing that to them. I'd get it on the plane, go to the airport, something like that. I couldn't live with myself. So it's that, and then whether we'll be able to, I don't know. Maybe we'll do a mid-season party or a post-season party or something like that. We will get a party.
Super Bowl party, baby. Come on.
You know what? That's not a bad idea. Whether the Lions are in or not, we should just schedule one.
That'd be fun. That'd be good.
God. Okay. Oh, that all being said. Okay, so we talked about that. What does this change mean to Matt, Patricia, and Bob Quinn? I almost said Matt Quinn.
Matt Patricia. It's all good.
Yeah,
they're one word. They are a homogenous unit as far as hiring and firing is gone. They will live together or they will die together.
I believe that's true. Now let me share a couple things with you before I get you to start weighing. Rumor has it that Sheila was pretty big in retaining Patricia, that she had a big role in that.
I've heard that as well. She
was asked to define what meaningful games in December means. What's that mandate mean now that you're the boss, right? And her response was, I think this is going to be a weird year. So I don't want to say anything about W's and L's. The main thing is we want to see major improvements. At this point, I really can't say what those specific measures are going to be. That was posted in the Reddit by Doltron3030. Thank you, Doltron. Interesting, right? Again,
yes.
Probably had time to think this through and probably needed to have an answer prepared for that. I'm not trying to be down on her, right? Because that's the last thing I always, no matter who it is, I don't care if it's a politician I don't like, an owner, a player, whatever. I let them come in and prove themselves to who they are and be who they are, and then I can make a judgment on that, right? So I want to be really clear. I'm not judging negatively on her out of the gate here,
right.
But I'm just saying that's not the kind of answer I wanted.
That's maybe something that Rod Wood maybe should have helped her with.
Or maybe he wrote, because he's been there a while. He can say something like that.
And, and when he came in, he said, I don't know anything about football. And it was candid and it got pilloried at the time. But I think in a way it framed his role with the team properly.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I would have liked a little bit more of a clear, defined answer. Even if she couldn't give one, she could have learned from her head coach and filibustered and said, 85 more words that don't mean anything, but give you the impression that said something. Patricia's a master of that. Maybe she could have learned a little bit from him on that.
I think maybe what she said. That actually may be what she said. I can't really say what the specific measures are going to be. It may mean that it may mean she doesn't know.
Maybe
or
she
doesn't
want
to
it to
say
be.
It they are.
I think I think Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn both have a very good idea of what they need to accomplish this season. We don't know what that is, and Sheila didn't tell us what that is. But I have a very hard time believing that they don't know what at least their very minimum benchmark is. And we can speculate on what that is. I think it's 8-8. I think other people will say that because it is a weird year, and she's not wrong about that. I'm
worried about injuries more than anything this year. I really am, because I think there's a lot of guys that aren't keeping in shape, and some guys that really can't keep in the right kind of shape for what they do.
There's like Snacks last year. Snacks didn't hold out. He had the off-field issues going on with his family, and it wasn't anything malicious on his part, but he did not show up in great shape, and we saw what happened with that.
Yeah, I just thought I didn't think of it. This came across from the chat. But this would be a huge, huge fan winner if Sheila came in and said we're lowering the price of beer by $3 to $5 a glass in their stadium. She would win over many, many people.
Lowering the price of beer is always a good move. It's freaky to me that you can get like a Goose Island 312 for $9, and the stand next to it, the Bud Light, same size as $9.50. Yeah. I don't understand that at all.
They're not really catering to the discerning palate. Let's put it that way.
My craft beer snobbery gets the best of me sometimes.
Yeah, no, I know who you are. I know who I'm dealing with here. All right, so what does this mean to Quintricia? In the case of what she said, 8-8. I think that's right. I think it's barring some kind of catastrophe.
I think that's the bare minimum, and to exist with that would be another case of, okay, Stafford got COVID and missed 6 weeks or something like that.
My brain hurts. My brain hurts.
And that is something, when Sheila talked about it being a crazy time, this is something, I'll put on my other hat for a second. J.C. Treader, the Browns center, is the NFLPA president. And he has talked a lot about they are still figuring out what to do when players get diagnosed and how long they have to be isolated. Can they practice? When can they return to practice? Will they have increased measures put on them afterwards? Will they have to wear an extra face mask? They don't know that yet. So there's so much weirdness going on. So she was right about that. That it's tough to set a very specific target when there's going to be so many moving targets throughout the year that you just don't know, for anything what's going to happen.
How weird is it that all of a sudden Clemson has 46 players, and I don't know what the number is, but it was a larger number of players that boom, they've got the COVID.
Right.
My neighbor here who's going to Georgia Tech, which after the show, Riz, don't go, I've got to show you something. You are going to just absolutely cough up your lungs in laughter. It is nice. The funniest thing you ever see. I can't share it though. But at Georgia Tech, they were going to go back earlier. They're coming back later. They're letting only local guys get there first to camp for their team, and then the other guys are coming in like 2 weeks later. It's interesting how that's all playing out. I would think you want to get everyone together early, because if you're going to bring it and get it and it's going to run through the locker room, just get it over with before the season starts, right? Rather than have to deal with it as you go through the season. I don't know.
That's a lot easier to say from our position, that we are not going to be the people who get sick or who are responsible for these people getting sick. And I had that conversation with a high school football coach recently. He's gung-ho to get the kids back out on the field. At the same time, he's like, "Oh my God, what if one of those kids gets sick? What if I'm personally responsible for that kid, getting his mom sick too?"
Yeah.
Was the way that he put it, because he's pretty confident that kids will be all right.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
I heard about
I can't
the
answer
players
that for people.
being kind of quarantined in like a barracks kind of a situation, or a hotel situation, or a dorm situation, whatever, where through training camp, so they just kind of sit together.
But how that's going to go. Like this is going on with the NBA at Disney. That some team masseuse is going to want to get a Taco Bell at 3 a.m. after he's had the 5th bottle of room service wine. He's going to sneak out. And the homeless guy that he gives $1 to out back at Taco Bell is going to have COVID and give it to him, and he's going to infect. That's how it happens. We've all seen the movie Outbreak. We all know how this goes. That's why the bubble thing doesn't work for me, because
back at the Taco Bell, I forgot about that scene.
happens.
He's still there. He's still there.
He's always
coughing
there.
up the COVID.
You could go to any Taco Bell in the nation at 3 a.m. and you'll find somebody back there. That's what they called Eric Rudolph, the Atlanta Olympic bomber. They called him go through a dumpster behind a Taco Bell at like 3 a.m.
Yep. You're right.
Stay away from Taco Bell, kids.
As a side note, sorry, again from the chat, Greg, he says Jeff finally got his I've co-hosted enough, give me a damn hat.
Oh, I was actually I have COVID hair. I've not had a haircut since March 11th. And it was not going well today. The flow was not going too good. So.
Give us a peek under the hat.
Oh, there's a lot of it.
Ooh, that looks good though. I mean, you could. I don't know. I think you could do that up pretty well. You wear that well.
Most of the time, I do like having the longer hair on the top, and I'm fighting with my wife currently to keep it that way.
Get some of that the gray streaks, the Halloween stuff, and you could comb.
I have enough gray streaks working already.
You could pull off a full Beethoven.
That might be sweet.
Oh man!
I just want to get like George Lynch hair from Vintage Era Dockin. That's what I want.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the sell the team folks. You had putting it a little more pointedly, but I'm gonna refrain from using your filth.
I might have used the term mouth breather. Probably used the term window licker.
And there was something about you're going with no pants, what they can do. Yeah, but the idea is,
these
what's
people,
wrong with
if you were one of these people and listening, if you're one of these people who thinks that everything that's wrong with the Lions organization will be fixed by the Ford selling it, just stop listening right now. Go jump in a pool. Make sure it's got a toaster with you under each arm. You are not a rational thinking human being. You are an automatonic sheep. Break out of it. I can't stress enough that could things be better with ownership? Yeah, it could. You could have Mark Cuban as your owner. He ain't buying the Lions.
But what's he going to do that's better?
And this is what you do. If you're a good Lions fan, you come back and say, what exactly do you want them to do? And if the only thing that can go back is win, you know you're dealing with a moron.
I thought you were going back to mouth breather. It's the same thing with coaches and GMs, right? Okay, well, who do you want instead?
Right.
Sometimes
at least then there are more. The candidate pool out there is broader. You can do a lot of different things. I already have an idea of who I want to be the next GM of the Detroit Lions, whether they're hired now or 5 years from now. And it's not somebody that would normally get thought of in that way.
No, it's so typical Lions pick.
Ownership. You really want Dan Gilbert to be the owner?
And that's who it would be.
Lions?
That's who it would be.
Yes.
Yeah. And what a
it from lifelong Cavaliers fan. He's a fucking dumbass. He lucked into the greatest player of the 21st century and drove him away from his beloved hometown not once but twice because he's a flaming douche.
The subset group of the sell the team people who don't have a plan, it's a tantrum, right? It's an
don't ever come to me with a problem unless you have a potential solution. A boss told me that many years ago, and I have embraced that as a mantra.
If you want to see the best of Riz, show up, say sell the Fords. Kellen Moore should be the quarterback, and Dan Marino was the greatest quarterback ever.
Knew you were going there.
And with a backdrop of Stevie Miller Band. Okay, so the subset of folks. The subset of folks in this sell the team group are the ones that are angry. Oh, we got a woman owner. That's it. We're done. Can't do it. And I would just point.
Do you think it's a woman, or do you think it's because her name is Ford?
It's both. I've seen both, and it's really just ridiculous.
We're not past the woman. Like
you would think. The only answer to that is point to the Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay.
I mean, there's many answers to it actually, but just point to the There you go.
Who owns the Chiefs? Mrs. Hunt.
And
she's owned them for a long time.
Story over on that one. I've seen it. There was a couple people. I'm not a big shaming people out thing, but when they're that freaking ridiculous, it seems much. They were kind of forced to delete their comments.
Man. The tweets that I don't send, Chris.
Oh my! Oof. Oof. Yeah, Twitter's I'm on it. I have a metered way of using it. I know a lot of people do Twitter a lot better than I do, but the things, you're right. There's so many things that I don't say that's better for everybody. It's just better for everybody.
I am on it much less than I used to be, and I erase more than half the things that I am going to send out.
So
because I don't want to deal with. I just don't. I don't need that stress in my life.
We've got evidently a reporter in the chat from. He's got a question for you, Riz. He wasn't sure if you heard it in the Zoom. He heard the Lions are relocating to Chaz. Is that true?
Chaz.
The 6 block team, right? They have a little smaller stadium than they're used to, but boy,
a little bit.
You will be close to the players. Anyway, okay. Oh, it's chopped now. Sorry, we're getting let know. Right. Okay, so there's there. Okay, that's that. Let's see. There was one other thing I think we want to talk about. I think we covered the ownership thing. Into that though, and coming from that was the training camp and the COVID update. Have you heard anything? I mean, what we talked about beforehand was it's going to be up to the teams.
So this came out via, and I want to get him right. It was Daniel Kaplan from The Athletic who covers the Giants, and it was picked up by Pro Football Talk, which you probably shouldn't trust, but in this case you probably should because they had other people who also verified it. That the NFL attendance this year at both training camp, preseason, and into the regular season will not be determined on a league-wide basis, but it will instead be handled on a locale-by-locale basis. So you're in Tampa. Your governor has decided that you can have, naked sex parties in the middle of a street if you want to at this point. Mm-hmm. Michigan ain't there yet. So I would not expect this is my speculation. This is not me knowing it. I would not expect to attend a preseason game, and I would not probably expect to attend a regular season game unless you were a longtime season ticket holder until at least October, and perhaps longer than that.
I'll just give you a quick inside scoop with the Florida and Tampa mindset. Did you know that there's actually a swinger/nudist section of town?
I did not, but I'm not surprised that you know that.
Well, you just got to know. You got to know your area. You got to know you got to know your neighborhoods, my friend.
Got to know the lifestyle.
No, don't put that on me.
Well, you can take me there the next time I'm down.
It was stunning. It was stunning to find out. And it's like I've been through and everything else, and it's not like people are just parading through the streets, whatever, right? But there's signs. Like I've heard from people who are telling me this. Like I was intrigued, so I was asking questions. Like, really? Are you kidding me? I drove through. You can't. And like, yeah. If you go by a house, it's got like either pineapples or flamingos out front. That's the sign that they're open to the lifestyle, I guess, right? So I was like, this is. So I had to go look at my house and redecorate.
Excuse me, I gotta go take a walk.
I've always wanted flamingos. I thought Miami Vice was great. Fuck that. Pulling those things out of the lawn. Anyway, no,
oh my God.
I never had the flamingos. But.
Yeah, so pay attention to that because it's, again, this is evolving. And the players still haven't officially signed off on going back onto the field yet. They are still working that out. As far as training camp, I do think that they will have at least the players gathered. I'm not even sure that the media is going to be allowed, to be honest with you, at this point. We still have 4 weeks. It would be 4 weeks from like tomorrow, Thursday, that it would start is the typical start date. And usually the first couple of days are just rookies and newcomers and the new coaches, and they get the orientation. Then the action starts usually the following Monday. The players don't know yet. They are still planning on showing up, but they have not been officially told when to show up, what to do when they show up. Are they going to be quarantined? Can they bring their family? All that. Right. That's still all up in the air. Yeah. And again, if it's decided piecemeal, so the NFL, when the lockdowns first came down, was very much no team can get an advantage out of this. No team can do pro days for local people because like Detroit obviously could not do that.
Right.
Whereas, if you were in Texas, Dallas, and Houston would have had no problem doing that because their governor doesn't care.
And an unfair advantage.
Right, exactly. They seem to have veered away from that based on what Mr. Kaplan reported. So I don't know, man. It's probably going to change a few times. And the spikes that we've had with like the college football, you mentioned Clemson, Texas has had issues. UCLA has had issues. One of the things that UCLA has done is that they did not trust the UCLA doctors to confirm, sort of like the whole team doctor thing, you want a second opinion. They wanted outside people controlling the testing. I think that's a smart idea, and I think that's something that the NFL needs to do as well.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I think
but none of that's in place yet. That structure still isn't there, and it's kind of getting time to be there.
I will and here's the one negative I see coming out of that, that ability to make that decision, right? It has nothing to do with the COVID other than using it as an excuse. I have a sense that Matt Patricia, based on how tight they were with photography and fans watching last year at training camp, would really lean towards let's use the COVID to keep them all out and get that secrecy kind of thing.
Yeah, ask Math Bomb about that.
We were sitting right next to each other,
you guys were.
And it was me getting in trouble every time. I just pulled my phone up to tweet, and he's like, "Put your phone down." I'm like, I'm tweeting, right? Leave me alone. And he didn't want nothing to do it. And then the next day I showed up and had a conversation with there was the same security guard. He looked at me, I looked at him, because I was mouthing back, right? I wasn't taking his crap about it. I said, look, bro, I don't want this kind of crap, but here's what's going on. I'm tweeting. I can show you. You want? I'll turn my phone and walk it down to you every time you yell at me, or you can trust me, because I can't take no pictures when it's pointed like that. It's pointed down, right? And he's like, right. Okay. And some of his guys started coming over to yell, and he stood to his word. And he's like, no, it's all right. He's
good,
right? And he took up with it. So he was cool about it then. But it could have escalated to a bad place if we weren't both a pair of diplomatic gentlemen.
That is one of the the Patriot way things that Patricia has brought with him, is that incredible sense of paranoia that everybody's always trying to get you and trying to get an edge on you. Yeah. Maybe Spygate has something to do with that. That's something that I will speak firsthand. It goes on in Houston. They do not allow anybody to tweet while you're at training camp for the Texans. Going back to the Browns, when Eric Mangini and even Romeo Crennel were there, they were very secretive about those things as well. That
doesn't help. That doesn't help. That's the thing.
It's wasted energy on pointless things. If you don't think that another NFL team can get the video of your practice,
oh yeah,
come on. Look, it's stored in a server so the players can download it themselves. You don't think that Quandre Diggs still has access to that, or a way to get into that?
They got the 4K recording camera in the glasses crap. I mean, anybody who was truly like into that and wanted to really come up with a way to do it could do it very, very simply and get the whole thing. You know what I mean? So
the whole needing to have that, that's just play better. Execute your plays better.
Yeah. Dominic brings up a good idea. Have a watch party for the Bucs game this year down in Tampa. He's down in McDill. Dominic, stay in touch, brother. We'll if anything, we'll do something, you and I together. I just got to figure out the way. I got all the stuff to do at mobile, but we do the live show right after, so it just becomes a little bit of a thing. I got to find out. There's probably a Lions bar here somewhere where we could do something like that and do a broadcast from there.
So I have a friend who owns a brewery nearby you. It's in what is it? Oh crap,
Dunedin.
Crap. It's near you. It's
St.
south.
Petersburg?
It's north of Clearwater, but not much. It's called Unrefined Brewing. It's my fraternity brother and former roommate opened it with his brother.
Oh, shit.
And they are Steelers fans. They're from Pittsburgh. But he has said that if I'm ever down, he will turn it into a Lions bar for a day. So
really
consider that. It's called Unrefined Brewing. Check it out. My boy Tommy owns it. He's a character.
Yeah, no, I mean
he also has some good stories about me. If you really.
Oh, now I'm going to be there for sure. Tommy at Unrefined Brewing. Here I come, my friend. We'll put something together for sure.
Yeah.
Dominic, don't get too far, whether it's Twitter or you can hit Chris at DetroitLionsPodcast.com. Email it and cook it.
And again, I'm in the Houghton Grand Rapids area. We are still tentatively having our Sunday morning pregame show at Slow's Barbecue in Grand Rapids, if we're allowed to, with the radio station 96.1. It will be our fourth year doing it. We've won a Michigan Association of Broadcasting Award.
Nice
actually, I'm an award-winning broadcaster, which is amazing to me.
Congratulations!
And we do have a couple of regulars who come out every week. They're good guys. Paul, if you're there, hi. that's hopefully going to be back on the docket. But again, it's tough to plan anything ahead of time, man, because you just don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I do know. Yeah, Chris is right in the chat about getting your tickets now. Airfare is like nothing. You can route pretty cheap these days.
Yes, I know you can go from Grand Rapids to Chicago for $19 right now.
Holy crap! It's crazy. There's no way I would take my car. There's no way I would go straight through.
In Chicago? Hell no.
Yeah. Oh my God. You don't remember. All right. So let's talk about something. I didn't have this on the list, Riz, but there's something I want to cover really quick. The cap. We got a bunch of cap space. Right, we're really, really good on the cap. We're walking into this year with all kinds of room, and a lot of people are, who are we going to sign? What are we going to do? You know, Clowney is an interesting character, but probably no, right?
No.
There's really nobody out there, and it doesn't make sense to spend this money in a big way on anybody rolling around out there right now. There's also the question about next year, right? If there's no television rights or no stadium, seating money coming in, things could really change around.
The salary cap could be going down.
So passing the space on might be really, really helpful. Plus, they're signing Decker, right, and possibly Galladay. Okay, so
I would expect Decker to be done before Galladay.
To be signed, for sure.
I will again refer to the Browns because their general manager addressed this in his press conference a couple weeks ago in a Zoom that I was in. He was asked very pointedly, what are you doing with all this money? Are you planning on, possibly the chaos of this year and just carrying it over and having it as like a rainy day fund for next year if things go crazy? And he said, absolutely, we've considered that. We have that as a plausible scenario for what we're going to do with the money. I would hope that the Lions have that as well, based on the way that Rod Wood has run the finances of the team and Bob Quinn has handled it. I would expect them to, yes, they do probably have a plan for that. As far as spending it on free agents right now, Clowney ain't coming to Detroit. If he doesn't want $18 million from Cleveland, he sure as hell doesn't want whatever Detroit's offering.
Right, for sure.
As far as Jamal Adams is not. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he's going to be with the Jets this year. I think they're going to punish him by making him play for them. They do not want to give. He wants $5 million more than any safety has ever made. The Lions, aside from being pretty good at safety already, are not in the business of giving up assets to pay a guy that astronomical money. So that's an obscene proposal.
You know what would have been interesting in the CBA, now that I sit here thinking about it? If you could trade cap for players or draft picks.
That would be interesting. I'd like that idea.
You think you could go into next year? I mean, here's just a crazy scenario, right? You could go into next year when people are starving for cap. You could you have a bad year, just for example, and Quintricia are gone, right? I want to say Joey Lawrence. Lawrence comes, top of the draft. How do you get him? Well, I can turn out some players, or I can turn out some money. I can turn out some cap. I could weasel my way in to get
another
Joey Lawrence.
Consider what's going on in Buffalo with the Pagulas, the owners there. They basically stripped the Sabres to studs because they don't have any cash right now. There are going to be other NFL teams, not the Lions, but other teams will be hurting for physical cash to pay their players. What if you could float that type of thing? So that's a good idea. I like that.
Hey,
Make it happen.
Here's an idea that popped up.
What?
Chris in the chat said we got to start organizing away trips.
That'd be fun.
That would be. Let's talk about that. Let me just poke you. I have an idea on that. Let's look at that. It's not a bad idea. Let's see if we can put something together. We'll think about it.
That would be good.
Okay, so there's that. We got the salary cap. I think carrying that cap over is part of the plan for next year.
There are no real free agents to spend it on right now.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, you don't want to sign people specifically at the positions that you just drafted. Right. They just drafted 2 running backs. They drafted 2 offensive linemen.
Who's the interior defensive linemen that are available that we would want to sign? That's really where I'm looking, or a super stud wide receiver, and he doesn't exist. So it's interior defensive line, and I don't see a whole lot of that rolling around out there either.
There are guys who would probably be better than Penasini and Cornell, but we don't really know that. I got to say Penasini. I'm very happy about that.
We've never
such
said it
a
wrong
child.
here. We've never said it. I've said it a million times. I've never said it wrong. I am honoring that gentleman and the hard work he did by not doing the easy joke. But the easy joke is in my head every time I hear his name. I can't help it. You're right. I'm 12 years old and I will be forever. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Don't
All
go
right.
changing.
All right. Let's talk about a different guy that isn't Penasini, but who was drafted this year, Jonah Jackson. He signed.
Yes.
Help us sort out the guards. Some idiot at LionsWire did an article about it. What's his name? Let me look here. It's El Jefe Raizdoon. I don't know. It's some goofy idiot. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about
My
him.
siblings call me Hefe. That's funny.
Well, first we'll talk about this idiot, then we'll talk about his story. No.
Yeah.
Jonah
Yeah.
Jackson signed. What does that mean? That's good news for us, obviously.
It is good. He signed. He and Stenberg have signed. I think they're the only ones that have signed. Maybe Huntley signed. Maybe not. I don't know. There's not many around the league who have signed.
Right.
So Jackson getting it done, it's good. There is no room for negotiation in these contracts since the last CBA. You know what you're getting within 1%. You can have offset language if you want. You can have different bonuses moved around, but the basic compensation, there's no real fight for it.
Yep.
So just in terms of logistics, it's nice to get him in. It shows that he's healthy enough to pass a physical. I don't know how he did that, quite honestly, but they've apparently figured that out.
Yep. Here we go.
So it's good. He is going to. I think he's going to be the starting left guard. Saying that, I do think they're going to have a rotation again. Just the gleam that was in Hank Fraley's eye when we asked him down in Mobile about the rotation. They're having a rotation, folks.
Oh, yeah.
There will not be any guard on this team that plays more than 750 snaps.
I want to get Hank on the show. I love that guy.
I think he would do it, honestly.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I
think he would.
He's really, really a good guy. I loved what I saw down there in Mobile.
I have a couple of mutual good friends with him that I will try to grease
cool.
a little bit.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, he's just an impressive cat. I mean, he's going to do well. You just know it. All right, so really quick, star of the show Ozark, Brandon is on the phone. Brandon, you there?
Hey
guys, what's going on?
Hi, Brandon.
Oh man, it's been forever since I've been able to talk to you guys.
Yeah, miss you too, my friend. You want to say happy birthday or anything?
No,
it's 5 years. Today is our 5-year anniversary.
Anniversary. Hey man, congrats on the anniversary. I'll give you
I
that.
really had to suck it out of him, but okay, go ahead, Brandon. Sorry.
Well, listen, first of all, I don't know if you know this, Chris, but I think there's another former Lions player that lives down your way in Tampa. Spotted him somewhere when I was doing some research on some older players and found out he lives down that way, and I just can't remember who he is.
Bubba.
Out there, look back again.
Bubba.
Maybe you can get him on and say, hey.
It's Bubba Baker, isn't it?
Yeah, that's who it is. Al Bubba Baker. Yeah, that's who it was. I knew there was somebody he was quite a player, and I tell you what, if you look at his records, this is something Michael Hare brought up, and Rick Gosselin agreed that he ought to be a Hall of Famer. The unfortunate thing is over half his sacks was the 4 years before they started counting them, and the rest of them all came afterwards, and after 10 years.
Yeah.
Or eight years, I think it was.
He was a real good player.
Bubba Baker was in diapers when Michael Harris started writing at the news.
Yeah, that's rough. That's about right.
I'm sorry, Mike.
Come on, be nice to Mike.
They didn't. I'm surprised that they didn't bring that out when Mr. Hamp was being interviewed. Like, oh yeah, Mike, I remember you babysitting me. Stuff like that.
Oh God, Mike is such a great guy that he will have a good comeback, I'm sure, for the joke. But it'll be well deserved. But Mike's great. Mike's awesome.
We love Mike.
Well, listen, I got an interesting little question. I thought about this today, and and Jeff, you can actually apply this to the Browns too, just for fun. But two players, great wide receivers, got huge baggage. Which one would you guys sign in Antonio Brown or Josh Gordon for vet minimum? Or maybe both of them. Would you guys do it? Either one of those teams, Browns or Lions.
I would not. I wouldn't touch either of them. I would touch Brown before I'd touch Gordon. And I'll say this about Josh Gordon, and I know this from being around the training camps when he was there in Cleveland. It was a nightmare for his teammates to always be walking on those eggshells. It was very, very tough on the team, and I don't want to see that in Detroit or anywhere.
I tell you what, I'm crazy, but I'm not averse to the idea of Antonio Brown at a vet minimum, with the same stipulation that a Randy Moss got at in New England, that kind of thing, and then he got in New England, right? F around and get and you're gone. And the thing is Randy Moss's worked because he was older, right? He was at the obvious end of his career. That was going to be his last stop. That's what you're getting with Antonio Brown. This is going to be his last stop if he gets a chance. And you put him on the same limb, and at the first cent, boom, you're gone. See you later. And that's the thing that I think Patricia would do and Quinn would do and could do. And I think that this locker room, I've talked about this a little bit, they've built a locker room of character guys who I think could carry
this guy
that.
Needs a and I'm going to find him
Dominic,
and just give him a big...
Hey, look at that.
Dominic showing up on the Patreon, man. That's $20. Thank
Nice
you,
graphic.
brother. Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah. So Antonio, I'd like to think that there's still some frayed degree of sanity somewhere in there.
Nope.
But
Yeah.
it's tough.
I don't think there is. I just think you have
Let
to.
me ask you guys this, and this would be more in the league wide. Is there a team that not just can afford them, because anybody could afford them at that minimum, but what team do you think could handle having both of them on the same squad that would instantly give them great offense, but you know what everything else would come with it? Do you think there's a team that could handle it? Maybe the Seahawks? Maybe a team like that.
I don't think anyone could handle both of them, just because the chance that neither of them are going to be on the field. And you're making a big investment in roster spaces on guys that may not show up at all, and you start thinking about your wide receiver 3 as your number 1. It gets ugly, right? And I wouldn't. You don't put Marvin Jones as wide receiver 2 and Galladay as wide receiver 3 behind a guy like Antonio Brown. I think you take Brown if you have him and put him in the Hall role, right? And let him just run fast.
But
and
he won't do that, and that's part of the issue with that, is that he will not take a role like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was one of the issues that Gordon had in Seattle too.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting.
Last thing I'll bring up, Jeff, do you think there's any thinking at all that they might sign Mike Daniels, or is it still just a money issue? Because I don't see him getting signed by anybody else either, unless it's just simply the circumstances everybody's in, and there's no signing of anybody going on.
There is.
I'll go ahead and get out of here. Happy anniversary, guys. Y'all take
care. Yeah.
All right, love you, Brandon.
Thanks for calling, Brandon. Yeah, good to hear from you. I don't think any team right now is interested in rushing to sign any player at this point.
Yeah. What's it been? 2 free agent signings since the draft?
It's been very, very small.
Yeah. I think
very
the number's
small.
2. I saw.
Yeah, and that doesn't surprise me. And that number's not going to go up before training camp, before the week before training camp. There's no reason for players to sign and commit themselves right now. They're not getting anything out of it.
Yeah, nothing at all.
So I think you're going to see a rash of players sign right around the beginning of camp or after the first week of camp. And Daniels will probably be one of those guys. He's one of those guys you cannot sign him unless your doctor can poke and prod at his feet and knees. He's got serious issues with those. Everything that I have heard is that he would be receptive to coming back to Detroit, and Detroit would not mind having him, but they're not going to depend on him like they did last year.
Yeah.
So it would be, again, you're looking at a guy that's honestly, I think probably 54 of the 55 guys who will be on this team week in and week out are already in Allen Park. They will probably pick up a straggler. My guess is that it will be a cornerback that plays special teams that they sign this offseason, like from somewhere else.
And there's talk that the practice squad will even be bigger too. So there's a lot of room
the practice
here.
squad is supposed to get jacked up to 16, and you're allowed to have 3 transactions per player going back and forth rather than 2, which is going to be cool.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a big deal. I think that's, especially in the COVID world, that helps out. Really quick, I do want to make sure that Dominic gets his due.
Yes, there you go.
Thank you, Dominic, very much for the Patreon joining up.
That's awesome.
As soon as we're done here, I will make sure you get on the Slack and get access to all the fun and
Yes,
excitement.
please
It's
do.
really, really cool of you to do that. Thank you. Okay, so we've got Dominic nailed. Or he nailed us, however you like. We do have one last thing that we wanted to cover, and I can't do my segue that I would use for just about anything else here because I'm a respectful person. But want to give huge congratulations to Tori Petrie. She got her first Emmy for Sports Reporter Talent from National Association of Television Arts and Sciences, I believe. And she killed it. She does and the thing is, it was tough. She came in young to the Lions organization when they first started doing the internal kind of press thing there.
Yes, they did.
She was one of the foundational people that they kicked off. They got really great producers and stuff in there, good graphics guys. They do a lot of really, really good work in there. And
Absolutely.
Well, obviously from a press perspective, they have a little bit of an advantage on one side. It's hard because you have to walk a little bit of line being a company person as well. But she's done a great job and produced a lot of really, really great stuff for fans and everybody alike. And she's just a class act.
She's really, really good at making everybody feel at ease when they're on camera.
Yeah.
And that is a talent. That is not something that comes easy for people. And she does a fantastic job at that.
Yeah, just class act. We should have her back on again just to talk to her and congratulate her
Absolutely.
for that and see what's going on.
So yeah, she deserves the congratulations. That's a very good accomplishment for her.
Yep.
Like you said, she came in really young.
Yeah, right out of college.
If you know who Trevor Sikkema is from the Draft Network, he did Buccaneers stuff for a long time. He now moved elsewhere, but he went to college with her, and he's like, I knew from the fourth time that I had ever interacted with her that she was going to be really, really good at this kind of job, and she is. So that's awesome.
All right,
Congrats, Tori.
I do got to talk about a couple things. CBD.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. You got those post-workout pains, you got problems sleeping, you got a little bit of just regular old back pain or whatever. Go to CBD.DetroitLionsPodcast.com and check out what we got there. I was hoping my delivery's coming today. I've got some of the Chong gummies coming and some of the tincture for under your tongue. Works really great for me. I know I've heard reports for some people it doesn't work as well. For some people, they absolutely swear by it. For me, it is an absolute wonderful. There's none of the high, and that's the thing that's really weird for me. Is I'll take it and I'll be working. I'll be like, God, like my shoulder. I sit so much for work in an office chair. I'm like, for God's sakes. And I'll take it and I'll get back to work and I'm just kind of like, how you forget about things from it. All of a sudden I'm like, it's gone, right? What the hell happened? There's no like effect on how you think or work or feel or anything. It's just you just kind of feel better and it just happens. It's really amazing. It's how it works for me. CBD.DetroitLionsPodcast.com if you're interested in trying anything of that out for pain relief or insomnia for you. Really, really good stuff. Also, don't forget about Fanatics at DetroitLionsPodcast.com for all your Detroit Lions merchandise, and Amazon.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. These are really easy to remember. A little extra typing, but you help us out. We get kickbacks from all of those things. They give us a little kickback out of their profit. Doesn't cost you anything more. They kick us some profit, and it helps us out in running the show and doing all stuff and bringing the stuff that we do to you, because unfortunately it's not free. Also want to remind you at the end of the show, we've got for the audio listeners on the podcast, we've got some great blooper stuff that we put together for you guys from previous shows. Check that out. It's from the first 50 shows. We rolled those way long time ago. They're pretty funny, and it's really fun to go back to those first 50 episodes and listen to the stupidity that was the show and some of the dumb stuff that we did along the way. It's fun.
How
it's
far
exciting.
you've grown, Chris.
yeah, in many ways, I got to tell you. On the other thing, there's one other question that's open right now. It came up in the Slack chat for those Slack folks. Patreon.com/Detroit Lions podcast. You will get access to the Slack chat with the Wiz and Case and I. And they said we should be selling masks. And I didn't create masks as much as I'm a shill, right, for the show as best I can. Everything I do, I want to do something that you get a benefit out of. They said we should create masks and people could get podcast masks and wear them around. And it was one thing I didn't feel really good about because I just don't like profiting off of misery, if it makes sense. Hit us up in the comments of the video or on the website or through the contact form or an email or whatever. Let us know what you think about that. I'm interested in what your thoughts are in the subreddit with the comments. If we were to put together some masks, would you guys be interested? Like I said, I don't want to the last thing I want to do is be
Yeah,
offensive.
you don't want to
and-
exploit that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
at the same time, I mean, so
It's useful.
I have one that represents one of my favorite bands. I wear it all over the place.
Oh,
So
nice.
I don't mind them necessarily cashing in because their ability to make income has cratered. So
Yeah.
I saw that as a way to support them.
Oh, that's
So-
really cool. Yeah. No, that's true. All right. So yeah, just let us know what you think. Like I said, I don't want to step into the misery index here, but if you guys would find it useful and valuable or interested, let me know and we can do it. I mean, we can put it together really quick. It doesn't cost anything. So either way. Mike Daniels, I do want to go back to that really quick.
Shoot.
When he's on the field, just like you said, Chris, he did a lot of good. But he's got to come in cheap, right? He's a roster spot. He can provide value on this team. He's a position of need, and a good Mike Daniels or on the field Mike Daniels is good for us. A Mike Daniels that can't make the field is just I can't. 2 years of that, I would want to just punch myself in the face with a.
I think the hope is
Right.
that Deshaun Hand will be healthy and will handle that role just fine. And keep in mind they did add Danny Shelton, who's much
Right.
more of a snacks replacement, but there's.
Somebody. There's a body.
I'm not all that scared about this defensive line. They do not rush the passer whatsoever, but that's not really what they're designed to do. And that's, again, we have to recalibrate our measurement for success for the team.
And
they don't care.
They may
about
need,
pass
and
rush.
They may need to care less with Jeff Okudah on the team, right? I think
Let's hope so.
I think out of the box from what I've seen and my ongoing look at film, I think he's a steady. He's definitely a replacement for Slay, and he's got all the upside right now that Slay doesn't. So I'm happy here. All right, last thing to talk about our show. We're off the week of July 6th, so we'll be back next week. Case is out, Riz, so I'll talk to you about it. Maybe Sandman, if you can't make it with something, but Case has got work stuff that's just destroying his life here.
The week of the 6th, I will be with my family in Ohio.
We're gone the week of the 6th. Next week.
Oh, the week after that. Week after that.
The week before that. Next week.
Oh, next week. Next week. I am going to the UP for the very first time. We leave Friday morning.
Oh,
I've never been across the bridge, but we are coming back Tuesday night, so I'll be available after that.
Sweet. Do you know what part of the UP are you going to?
We are going to Marquette. We're going to go to Picture Rocks. I guess. I've never seen Lake
Beautiful.
Superior in my lifetime. I'm really looking forward to
It's
doing
cold.
that. Yes.
Don't think you're jumping
and my son wanted to check out Northern Michigan University, so we're going to go up that way and
That's awesome. That's awesome.
look at all kinds of stuff.
It's absolutely, when they say it's God's country, you will absolutely believe it. I used to go to Waters Meet way back out in the day, which is like 20 miles north of Land O'Lakes, Wisconsin, right? So we do the drive up there, and we drive way back into this national forest where the road would end. There was a 2-track. Take the 2-track to where it ends, and then we'd hike about a mile in to go camping and set up, and it was amazing.
Sounds nice.
Loved it. Just bring your own water, right? The whole thing. It was awesome. Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah, we're going kayaking a couple of times when we're up there. It's gonna be fun. Nice little family trip to get away.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff.
I'm
Enjoy that,
looking
brother.
forward to it.
Enjoy it.
Yes.
You deserve it. All right, my friends. We will be back next week with the Riz, freshly burnt, probably a little, and freshly refreshed from his time in the UP.
Might even have a haircut by then. Hopefully not.
Whoa! Sneak
Depends
over
on
to
what the wife says.
Wisconsin, my friend. Go across the border. Get yourself a haircut.
So the week after that, I'm going to Ohio.
Hiding from
And
the
I actually went to
revenuers.
Ohio a couple weekends ago earlier, and they had just opened for haircuts.
Oh yeah.
And I wanted to go see when I was a kid, my bookie was my hairdresser. And I wanted to go see him.
This is a story we'll have to save for later, but I do need to hear that story.
He couldn't get me in. He had like a 3 weeks completely booked out. So it's kind of crazy to try to get it done. So I might just let it flow. We'll see. Yeah, we'll talk about my barber Joey slash bookie Joey and his
that's-
tight white pants.
Absolutely, this will be good. All right, awesome. That's a good one. Thanks, Jeff, again for this week. Thanks for filling in for Case. I love it when you're on, man. You're a great guy.
And thanks for having me. I appreciate being with you on like probably half of these suckers, anyways.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
in one form or another. So
Well, you got your own intro now. Did you see that?
that I did.
It was great.
That's nice.
Right?
Yes.
You're fully incorporated now. You're part of the Borg. All right. With that, we're going to call it a show this week. Thank you again for the people on the podcast. Stick around for some hilarious bloopers after the show. They are funny. I mean, they are throwback hilarious, and or it just reminds you of how big of idiots we really are. Remember, the show needs your involvement. Use the comments in the subreddit and give us your feedback. Appreciate that. And then, of course, rank us in with those 5 stars in iTunes, Google Play, or all those different places. Don't forget about us on Patreon. Special thanks to Dominic there again from that one today.
Yes.
Patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. Patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. A little $1 will get you access to the Slack chat. And if you give more, we appreciate it greatly from the deepest, darkest cockles of our heart. Check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/The Detroit Lions Podcast. That's getting hopping these days. We're on Instagram at Detroit Lions Podcast, and on the Twitter machine running around without pants, DET Lions Podcast, DET Lions Podcast. Also, give us a call on Skype, Detroit Lions Podcast, all one word, or call us on the Lions line at 929-33-LIONS. It's 929-335-4667. Lastly, be sure to go to the DetroitLionsPodcast.com and subscribe to this podcast. That way we can show up in your ear holes and do all kinds of dirty things. Thank you for tuning in, and we're going to see you next time on the Detroit Lions Podcast. Remember, no pants, no toasters, no hot tubs, no problems, baby, because we're your Detroit Lions and Reddit connection.